I do want to jump to the end of the article because he says something a rather expert director hat, and that's what these guys do. They fake expertise because when you go to the bottom of the article and you see the writer, who is strangely enough not John F. Trent, author L.W. Ghost, writing under a pseudonym. L.W. Ghost is a writer, director, producer, designer, and former officer and contract negotiator within the Entertainment Guild and contributor on many of the shows you recall with vivid detail.
I think this guy's fake.
Of course, we don't have any of them.
I think this guy's fake.
I think this is fake as fuck.
It's either Trent or fucking Delarose or whatever. Like, they just created this guy that has all this expertise so they can say these things. What do you think?
Yeah, Do you think it's a real
I like the move of calling the guy Ghost if he's fake. I think that's a good bit.
Yeah, really cool.
But it's also it's, if I'm an idiot and I'm making a fake guy, I'm gonna call him something like Ghost because I'm gonna think, well, I'm actually a clever guy. This is actually. They'll never see this. They're so fucking dumb that they'll see he's called Ghost and they won't even think.
Right in front of their eyes. Never even know. Yeah. So this is it's a movie.
Yes.
It wasn't originally supposed to be a movie. The one thing I'll say is the Chuds were wrong in the sense that they said this was never going to come out. They said, it's canceled a million times. Not technically true. It was changed from a TV series. It appears that the resources that were originally going to go to this as a TV show went to Strange New Worlds. And then this was kind of like...
Which I will say, watching this, I think that was probably a good call, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I think the only reason that this even was made into a movie at all was, I think, because of her Academy wins with they were like, oh, well, because they definitely said, here, we'll do this movie and you chew the scenery and just be wacky, and you know what I mean?
And honestly, I'm all down for JoJo chewing scenery and stuff like that. Yeah. In fact, have you seen this, Dane?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry.
The problems I have with it are not Michelle Yeoh.
No. It's a kind of a mess. Like I want to say, like, storyline wise, it's told fairly straightforward, but like it's messy in that there's way too much exposition, and it feels like they had a couple of ideas for stuff that could work for a TV series or pilot, and rather than like pick and choose what would work best, they just kind of threw it all in there, and it doesn't work.
It's mainly, to me, it's the characters. It's characters that, like, I don't hate any one of them really, but like each one of them has their gimmick, and each one of their gimmicks is kind of like needed to be explained. You know what I mean?
And ad nauseum.
They expect you to care about the characters way too quickly. There's like heel turns, and it's like, oh, that's a heel turn. I guess I'm supposed to care about that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know anything about the character.
There's actually, like, the more I've thought about it, the more I was like, I could see how this could work as a series, actually. Because, like, the more I thought about, like, there's the really long intro in the Mirror Universe, which I think it would work better if they spread it out throughout rather than just
that gave me like some hope that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm down with this. We get to see that she was kind of like, in a way, in a fucked way, a victim of this system that put her in that position, and like, okay, it gives us an end to see her as a potentially redeemable to some extent character, even though she's essentially responsible for genocides and shit.
But after that, there's this moment that it's weird. It's almost like the movie's just talking to the audience, and it's like giving like a mission debrief. Yeah. And the more I've thought about it, I know what they're going for there, and that could kind of work as a Star Trek series. Think about, just do a Star Trek series, Section 31, but you kind of set it up to something like Mission Impossible. You have this team, they get their missions, they have to complete it. But you do it with an edge where, there will be something like immoral. Not every episode, but I think definitely in the pilot, you need to have something kind of terribly immoral that has to be involved with it. And maybe not everybody knows about it. And I think if you just do like a series like that, that could work. That's actually, I would almost say, one of my really big complaints about this. This is a Section 31 movie, even though it's really a failed pilot. Let's be real, it's a failed pilot.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't actually explore like the darker, seedier sides of stuff. It's just kind of like an adventure story, and that's a key element of Section 31. It needs to be kind of fucked up. And it's bizarre to use it unless you're going to do something a little fucked up with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's. I don't think it's the worst Star Trek movie ever, even though I feel weird ranking it with Star Trek movies. It feels more comfortable, honestly, ranking with Star Trek pilots. And even then, I'd probably rank it above Encounter at Farpoint. But that's a slog.
Well, I mean, at least just because this one, it kept my eyes glued to it.
Yeah.
I just was kind of like constantly like, what is like, why? It wasn't giving me a moment to kind of settle into any character or any vibe or anything. It's just like, it's dead serious, and then suddenly it's just goofy as fuck. You had way too many comedy characters, and I don't know if they did that because they wanted to let her be silly, so they didn't want her to be the only silly one. You know what I mean? So they was like, well, let's throw and just make it a silly vibe in general. And then like, what I was thinking was, there's the one character, I forget her name, but she's the one Starfleet officer.
Right? Oh, Rachel Garrett, yeah.
Rick Garrett. So I know she's from previous stuff. She's from
yesterday's Enterprise. She's the captain of the Enterprise seat.
As I was watching, it was like there were several moments where the character is like trying to be like, wait a second, that's not what Starfleet would do. You know what I mean? And I kind of felt like she was a stand-in for Star Trek, as in like, wait a second, what we're doing here is not what Star Trek should do. And then they're just like, fuck that, we're doing it anyway. And so like, she was kind of the stand-in for like the vibe of Star Trek, trying to hold on to, no, wait, what do we, no. And they're like, nah, fuck you, we're doing it anyway. She's like, okay, I guess we're doing that, And
I actually thought with her character that they kind of missed an opportunity, because I thought what would have been interesting, well, they need more of an explanation for her to be there, other than it's just like she's assigned from Starfleet, because part of the point of Section 31 is that it's not part of Starfleet. It is separate. It is on its own. You need more of a reason to have a Starfleet person there.
Starfleet, though, right? Like it's its own branch that has been given its own power to do whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're fully autonomous from Starfleet, but they were created essentially by Starfleet. No.
Yeah, but like I thought it could have been interesting. Maybe have her be the one that does like the actual CD stuff. There's all like I watched this and I'm like, I see the potential. I see where somebody wrote down an idea for this and went, hey, let's produce this and see what happens.
Yeah,
it didn't work, and I see why it was turned into a movie. And I feel weird calling it a Star Trek movie, because it's a failed pilot. And
if this was not called Star Trek, it might have been something that I could like at least enjoy as like a silly one-off sci-fi watch, right?
Yeah.
Like I could have been like, well, that was pretty dumb and silly, but like it was fun enough or whatever. But like I wouldn't have regretted it necessarily or hated it. But I kind of hated this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can get that. I didn't hate it, but like it was bad. I
what
have
it was
no
was
love for this, really.
So we talk often about what Chud say about this kind of stuff. And I don't know that we've talked about Star Trek too much on the showcast or anything, but it's one that I've paid attention to. And like, ever since Discovery, basically, they have said that Star Trek is this completely different thing. It's all goofy and action oriented now, and it doesn't resemble old Star Trek. And I have never really agreed with that. Like, there's some newer elements to newer Trek, but I've never felt like it was completely disconnected from. I just felt like it was a natural evolution of, right?
Yeah.
This is what I feel like they've been trying to describe new Trek as this whole time. And
I think an argument can be made for that. But even then, they're misrepresenting it quite a bit.
Well, like I watched part of the Red Letter Media's video on this because it came out today.
Okay.
And I love Red Letter Media generally, but I never have enjoyed their Star Trek content unless it's like when they're talking about the next generation. They're reflecting on that. That's fine.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I like their Star Trek content when they're doing like fan content. But when they're like reviewing stuff, it's a little bit kind of like,
they have been pretty unfair with Star Trek. New like Discovery. They're like, I understand if you don't like some of the vibe of it, but I feel like they really were reductive with how they describe the shit.
I definitely think Discovery had issues, but it's not. I think it's overall good. I would definitely rank Discovery.
And it got better. It got better and better each season, in my opinion. Hey, what's up, Pillar?
Hey,
Pillar.
We're talking about this slop trek over here.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Star Trek, Pillar?
Not as familiar as I'd like to be. I've seen a fair amount of original series and some of the movies, but honestly, and I've seen the new movies, but that's about it.
Okay.
So
this is like, it's kind of like the closest thing that this movie would be in terms of tone and vibe is like the newer movies. Yeah. But it's also not
a mess.
As good at all. Like,
so it's like straight to streaming, right, or something like that.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be a spin-off of Discovery. There was a TV show that was a spin-off of Discovery, and it was in the works for a while, and then it kept getting bumped back or whatever. And then for whatever reason, they had some they introduced new characters, not new characters, but the Captain Pike and these other characters that were the Enterprise crew before Kirk and Spock.
Yeah, I know who Pike is.
Sure. Well, they introduced them on Discovery, and they were so popular in season 2 that they said, well, let's do a spinoff of that instead. That became Strange New Worlds, which is a pretty good show. Mm-hmm. And it seems like this got bumped off of the release thing for being a TV show, but they just, in my opinion, after Michelle Yeoh won Academy Award for Everything Everywhere, they said, let's just make it a movie and let her kind of just go ham. And they did, and she does. Like, and she's entertaining. She's not really the bad part of this movie. It's just that,
And Star Trek has never shied away from ham. I mean, it's the original series starred William Shatner. Oh, yeah. Let's be serious. Ham. There's a lot of ham in Star Trek, so letting her ham it up is not necessarily a
scribbles and there's all kinds of elements of they would do one-off episodes here and there, but I mean, even still, like the main thing that I think that the new Trek has tried to do that I feel like alienates maybe some people. Like the Red Letter Media guys we were just talking about when you showed up, they don't like the new Star Trek stuff generally, and I think they're pretty reductive about it when they talk about it. Mm-hmm. But like the main thing that I think they tried to do is make it cooler, because it is understandable that like I've been a fan of Star Trek since The Next Generation was airing when I was like 9-10 years old. Even then and even now I can see the corniness of it, right? Like the production values and stuff like that, television production values, and just I don't know, stuff that didn't hold up well over time. So I think
even innately, there's the
try to get by that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you suspend your cynicism, there's nothing corny or campy about like the core ideal of Star Trek. Like a good future. But if you let any of that come creeping back in, then it immediately does sort of seem corny on premise.
Yeah, and I think that some people value that kind of a vibe of the original that newer fans trying to get into it might struggle to get past that vibe of corniness. Right? And that's understandable, and I think that's what they tried to cut out of New Trek. So like when you watch Discovery, especially the first season, it feels a lot more like the newer recent movies in tone. Just as like the action and the way it's shot, like more like a film instead of a TV show and whatnot.
It's not as good at all, but like tonally it felt closer to Deep Space Nine later seasons, except without characters I care about and a storyline that really felt all over the place.
You're talking about Discovery season 1?
Yes.
Yeah. It was pretty wild.
It's a mess. I honestly feel like the series actually started with season 2 when it felt like, okay, we have an idea what we're going to do now.
Reboot for sure.
Yeah.
And then honestly, like season 4 of Discovery is my favorite season of Star Trek, period. Just like as far as having, I don't think any episodes that I thought were bad or not up to par. The storyline all the way through was engaging and unique. And yeah, I think it's my favorite season.
I wouldn't go that far, but I do like season 4 Discovery. I was actually shocked when I saw that there was mixed opinions about season 4 Discovery, because I was like, I thought that was overall a very good season. I like what they do with that. This is That Park Place, John F. Trent's website.
I don't like having to agree with this headline, to be honest with you.
You see, I actually don't agree with the headline.
Okay.
So I disagree with you. I actually, I don't think this is a good movie at all. I won't go that far though. But I do find it bizarre just reading how a chud reviews shit like this. Because, as we've already discussed, this is a bad movie. I do not like this. But still, this discussion here just shows so much lack of knowledge and lack of interest in even research. So first of all, it starts out, Section 31 is the new Star Trek show starring Michelle Yeoh. Not technically correct if you did the slight bit of research. It's not just weak. It's not just weak. It's not just bad, but astoundingly awful. Before I continue, let me put forward my credentials. And his credentials, I think, are really interesting. For the record, I love Star Trek. If by Star Trek you mean, as I do, TOS, the first few original series movies, most of Enterprise, some of Voyager, and a moment or 12 from Next Generation.
Wait, wow. Nothing about Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, so nothing about Deep Space Nine. And really standoffish from Next Generation.
That's bizarre to me. And then
it's
to indicate you like more Voyager than Next Generation is doesn't
really bizarre. And Enterprise and Voyager, which those are two series I'd put below Discovery as far as ranking.
Those are the two series I have not seen all of. I've seen all of Next Generation and Deep Space Nine.
I think I'm missing some Enterprise. I've seen most of them, and they're good, but they're really. They do not reach the potential of what they
The weak spots in both of those are weak enough that it really turns me. Every time I've tried to watch more than a couple episodes at a time, I end up going, I can't fucking, Chakotay, Jesus Christ, man.
Chakotay is the most boring character in Star Trek history.
And then any episode where it focuses on his native, shit. Apparently, I don't know. Did you know that there was the guy that they got to be the kind of advisor on native issues for that character was a fucking fraud? Like he was a scam artist.
I believe it.
So much bullshit. Anyway, all right. Well,
but yeah. And second, let me state for the record, I love Michelle Yeoh. If by Michelle Yeoh you mean amazingly witty, charming, and deadly martial artist, perhaps best seen in Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies.
What?
So Michelle Yeoh from 30 years ago, which is.
You mean? I think isn't Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon probably more well known for her than that movie? I don't even think of that movie.
I think so. Yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies is actually a weird pick. If you want to go for the martial artist, I would think Crouching Tiger would be where you'd go. But the Bond girl one, sure.
That recent Japanese movie, Crouching Tiger, Hidden.
Yes. And third, and most emphatically, this thing sucks. Okay, I'll give you that. The script, awful, pointless, utterly untrek as we know it, throwing in some races and forms that we like and know won't do it.
What?
Was this even proofread? I don't even know what that means. At least
I think
when
he's
the
going
finale...
for. It seems like he's going for. Oh yeah, they've thrown in some races and forms that we like, but that won't do it because the film's so dog shit. But yeah, clearly this has been typed out and just enter has been hit,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think it's bizarre because there's some races, but they don't really use common races here. There's Deltans, which I think were used once before. There's Caminos, which I think were used once before, both times in movies. There's a Vulcan, but he's not actually a Vulcan, so I don't think that counts.
That is driven by a little tiny microscopic.
Yeah. I guess augments would be
we got an R2D2
race, which isn't really a race. It's just a human who's augmented, but yeah.
But what does this mean? Wait, at least when the finale, I hope, of Picard got the band, did you not watch it? Why are you talking about it?
Yeah. I think that's bizarre. The finale, I hope, yes, it is the finale.
Is he saying he's hoping they're not going to make any more?
Oh, I see.
Is it a done deal,
I assume
is it common knowledge they're not making more?
Yeah. They're not making more. We know. It was announced before they did it that'd be the final season of Picard.
Just more weird writing then.
Yeah.
So it's loud and clangy and noisily shot, edited, and designed, that's for sure. I mean, I'd agree with that, honestly. It is those things.
Yeah.
More or less.
Action. Well, you do have the world's premier martial artist actress as your star, albeit aging and not helped by badly showing that in makeup, hair, and wardrobe choices.
What?
I think Michelle Yeoh looks great in this, honestly.
Looks fucking great, man. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
She's how old is she? Gotta be
I looked it up. I think the other day. I think she's like 61.
Jesus, she's fucking gorgeous for one.
Yeah. It's like, really? Like, I remember watching this and being like, damn, Michelle Yeoh looks really good still. Like, that's one of the things I took away from this.
Sure, she didn't do all the stunts in the movie, but like she
No.
definitely did some of the fighting, you can tell, and looks fine. Yeah.
And here's where it gets bizarre. Putting my rather expert director hat on here for a moment, when you shoot a scene in cuts, zooms, slow-mos, and blurs with endless fast-moving shots that I guess you think enhances the action, what they actually do is make it pointless. I mean, true, quick cut action is very tough to do. George Miller is actually really good at it, but
what I think they did was that they were trying to salvage what they felt was kind of a piece of shit, to be honest. And that's where the editing and stuff comes from. And all of the glossy bullshit. It's got a very Suicide Squad 2016 vibe.
True. I felt that a lot.
The neon and the fucking fast edits, pointless kind of like diversions from whatever's happening on the screen at the time, and just kind of reminded me of that.
I do want to jump to the end of the article because he says something, a rather expert director hat, and that's what these guys do. They fake expertise, because when you go to the bottom of the article and you see the writer, who is strangely enough not John F. Trent, author L.W. Ghost, writing under a pseudonym. L.W. Ghost is a writer, director, producer, designer, and former officer and contract negotiator within the Entertainment Guild, and contributor on many of the shows you recall with vivid detail.
I think this guy's fake.
Of course, we don't have any of them.
I think this guy's fake.
I think this is fake as fuck.
It's either Trent or fucking Delarose or whatever. Like, they just created this guy that has all this expertise, so they can say these things. What do you think?
Yeah,
Bill?
Do you think it's a real killer?
I like the move of calling the guy Ghost if he's fake. I think that's a good bit.
Really cool.
But it's also it's if I'm an idiot and I'm making a fake guy, I'm gonna call him something like Ghost because I'm gonna think, well, I'm actually a clever guy. This is actually. They'll never see this. They're so fucking dumb that they'll see he's called Ghost and they won't even think.
Right in front of their eyes. Never even know. Yeah.
But I want to reiterate, this movie's bad, but it's not like we've never had bad Star Trek before.
True.
It's
the real negative is that I would assume that this is going to put a stop to any potential plans for any other just straight to streaming movies that could have potentially been good.
Yes, unfortunately, yes, and it will also unfortunately probably stop the idea of possibly doing more original Trek, because this is actually something more original. Studio will probably get the idea, we shouldn't do original. We should stick to more fan servicey stuff. And I love Strange New Worlds, but God damn it, I would love them to do like a new show with like a new crew, like Next Generation is. Next Generation, when they did the pilot for Next Generation, which does suck, by the way, but like the closest thing they get is like there's a very brief cameo from DeForest Kelly in that, and that's about it as references to the original. It's just a new crew, new adventures in the future. Now I'd like them to do something like that for Star Trek.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's time to get rid of Kurtzman?
I don't know. This is one misstep for him. I'm not going into this. When I heard Kurtzman was going to be in charge of Star Trek, I was like, oh, fuck. Because I am not a fan of his stuff.
He didn't have a good track record prior to that,
But like Discovery came around. Lower Decks I thought was fantastic. Strange New Worlds is fantastic.
I got kind of turned off the second season of Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
We got into like, we got Jim Kirk now, and we're following a Jim Kirk. Like, come on, man, can we just do not Jim Kirk?
I don't know. I will say Jim Kirk is growing on me in that series. When he was first introduced, I was kind of I still like Pike a lot more, but
sure, Pike's the shit.
But honestly, I think as like the executive producer behind this stuff, I think overall he's definitely done more hits than misses. So I'm
fair enough. I mean, he did turn. But the first season of Discovery Fuller was responsible for that. So Kurtzman's the one that kind of turned that around, right? So I guess that he gets credit for that.
I think it's also worth noting, Fuller had an idea for Discovery that I actually kind of liked. His original idea, if you remember, for Discovery was an anthology series.
Anthology, yeah.
So every year would just be a whole different set crew, whole different story, different time periods. I like that idea. Yeah. But yeah, the studio didn't want that. They got Kurtzman and they turned it into more your traditional Star Trek show. And it does turn good. It does turn good. But yes, you do, like, when you know that, you understand what's up with season 1 a bit more, because it's meant to be a one shot. It's not meant to be an ongoing series.
The bright side of Star Trek. I'm gonna get killed now. Star Trek movie being so bad.
They're the same thing. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's aliens in space, lasers, blah blah blah. But I guess the upside of it being like really bad is that there's not even, even if an article like this is written by a real person, and even if it didn't have all these mistakes and, poor writing, it doesn't really matter, because even the people, even the left-wing critics I've seen discussing this are united in the take that this is actually pretty, dire. Yeah. So, unsuccessful amount to, yeah, exactly. Like, even if they are trying to start a little culture war battle over this, although God knows why, do they not have better things to be doing at this point? Do they not have any minorities to be rounding up or whatever? Even if they were trying to start something up, there's, no one's pushing back against it. It's like, good job, fucking LW Ghost. You've just wasted however, the 5 minutes it took you to type that out, because no one's going to be fighting you on it.
True.
Yep. I mean, other than, his silly ideas of what good Star Trek is.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, that's the most interesting thing here.
But I just, a lot of his takes that he throws in there, I do disagree with, because that's when I covered Critical Drinker's take on this. He spent probably half the video just bashing on Michelle Yeoh, and I was just like, she was totally fine in this. What are you talking about?
He fucking hates women, so makes
sense.
Yeah,
of course, she's a girl boss and she's overacting. It's like, so it's Star Trek, okay.
It's actually such a shock that Critical Drinker would cover this.
Is it?
Well, I was going for the sort of, sarcasm thing, but I guess that doesn't translate so well without the webcam.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. I mean, maybe you were seeing something I didn't about him that I was like, oh.
Oh, no.
No.
Just like,
if he thinks he can graft outrage off of it.
Lots of other stuff coming out at the moment. True. Obviously, a guy like him will take the path of least resistance and just zoom in on, streaming only Star Trek film. Let's not talk about any of the stuff coming out in the pictures or, stuff actually moving the needle of the popular discussion at the moment. Let's pick an easy target. Yeah.
Although Critical Drinker in his review at the end, he said something that I thought was kind of shocking. He said, "When's the last time you've seen anything good from Star Trek?" And I was like,
probably
just last year we had Lower Decks season 5, which was awesome.
Yep. I mean, even the final season of Discovery was overall pretty solid. Thought it had a pretty decent ending.
I'm almost through it, but yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.